So let's now hear from Jonathan Newell, Chief Executive of BareRock, who has a brilliant development to talk about, and then we'll go to our expert panel for what should be a very lively discussion. Jonathan, it is really lovely to have you here.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Now, you have said you're about to start rocking the PII boat. Why would you want to do that?
Absolutely. So, for so long, I think the market has been crying out for some innovation and someone to do something different. I have been in the industry for 30 years, and I've seen the financial advice sector really evolve, really adapt to the changing financial environment and adapt to new technology. During that time, PII has stood still, almost relic-like, and hasn't kept up with the changes. So we're about to change that. On a more sort of personal note, I have seen some of the difficulties that poor financial advice can create, and difficulty in retirement, and some hardship. So I thought I had the opportunity to use my insurance background as a force for good and use that to encourage behavioural change across the board. So yeah, that's our drivers.
Excellent. So how are you going to do that?
Okay, good question. There's two parts to that answer, Simoney. First of all, was the model that we decided upon for BareRock. So we landed on a underwriting agency, okay? And being an underwriting agency means the insurer gives us the capacity to underwrite on their behalf. That gives us the ability to co-manufacture our own products, right? Okay, instead of being spoon-fed a product that's given to you by the insurer, which is a one-size-fits-all kind of solution, it gives us to be much more creative as to how we structure that. So that was the first hurdle that we overcome, and the second was technology. People in this room will probably bemoan filling in the same 30, 40, 50-page paper application form every single year that contains the same static questions, right, that haven't moved on since last year. I think the only surprise is that you're not supposed to fax it back to 1997 once you've finished that. So we've been locked away with our developers in the background for the last 3 years. Sounds a long time, but we didn't want to compromise on anything at all. So we've been locked away, putting everything in a digital form. So we've come up with a very slick online application form, which applicants can also collaborate with their colleagues in the office. So if there's a section on compliance, you can allocate certain questions to other team members. So it's a collaborative tool. And what we can do with that, we collect data, right? You'd be surprised how little data is collected in paper application forms. And you'll probably be shocked to find out how underused that little data actually is. Once you start collecting the data and analysing it, using some AI and some machine learning, you can start unlocking a whole plethora of information that has never been looked at before. And you can move PI from being in a very reactive state and move that forward to a proactive and predictive state.
So can you sort of predict who are good risk and who are bad risk? And are there going to be sort of incentives for those who've been behaving very well?
Yes, absolutely. So behavioural change is really at the core of what we're trying to achieve. So we've weaved into the application circa 40 questions that really look at the culture and conduct of a firm. And we're changing how firms are ultimately rated. The legacy market rates firms based on industry averages and product count is, I would say, I've condensed that down. What we're looking to do is look at a firm's culture and conduct and how client-centric that they are, use that as our base point, and we're going to have a very high bar of entry onto our platform. The problem with the legacy market and the gripes that we hear is that everyone gets tarnished with the same brush. And invariably, it's a few bad actors within that pool of clients that create pain for everyone else. So our model is very much about, we're not going to cast our net wide and far. We're turning our attention to the really good firms that can evidence that. And the very good firms and excellent firms, we've hardwired into our rating some discounting measures in there as well. So that's the encouragement.
Yeah, and that's certainly an incentive, isn't it? Because people like to hear that they get rewarded for good behaviour.
Exactly that.
Rather than just get penalised by the regulator for bad behaviour. This is a positive development. So thank you very much, Jonathan. That's exciting news.